You can only think about people who have given you money when you start writing.
It's almost like I'm trying to unfuck my prospects. You shouldn't do anything that's platitude-y or anything like that. And the most famous one that I've talked about is the top 10 books, right?
I think that being relatable doesn't sell as much as being the man. Real talk. People in your comments don't buy.
Yeah.
My marketing is strongest when I put out openly what I believe in and what I want for the people I work with. The clearest example of this is when I put something called the code. So the code was just a picture of a notebook split in half between what content creators do and what cash creators do. So content creators chase prospects. We don't do maybes. We only do yes or no's. Content creators sales with sales calls. We just use a Google Doc. Content creators are open all the time. We close doors because we understand that power goes to the most limited resource. Stuff like that. And the response I got to putting my code out there and kind of being willing to be a leader, that has been some of the wildest responses I've ever seen in my marketing. And I'd like to see more coaches do that. Be willing to lead and let people know what things you believe in and what is your code. Do you do something similar, or do you have any thoughts on that?
I agree. I think it's the way I kind of look at it is like, it's almost like you're trying, especially for coaches. I think the way a coach should approach things is you kind of have to create a common enemy in your marketing. You know, the other side of the fence or your enemy in your marketing is essentially the people who are doing things the way that you don't want to do them. The people who are doing things the way you used to do them, right? So that's like the enemy. It could be a person. It could just be an idea. So like for you, right? You might have ideas in the coaching space that you're just ruthlessly against. And I think your marketing then has to be essentially, it's almost like, and this is how I do mine, it's almost like I'm trying to unfuck my prospects. It's like, I feel like my prospects have these common beliefs that were given to them from some guru or something. And basically all of my marketing is to unfuck those beliefs. So for example, a practical example of this is that I think that you should use viral concepts and viral frameworks in your content and then just add your own unique spin. But there was a lot of really bad guru marketing out there where it was like, you shouldn't do anything that's platitude-y or anything like that. And the most famous one that I've talked about is the top 10 books, right? It's like, you've seen a top 10 books video from Layla Hormozi, Cody Sanchez, Alex Hormozi, Patrick Bet-David.
What do
right?
you get? What is it? Minute 2? Since you mentioned the Hormozi, 250. Almost broke your record.
But it's just because they're the big ones, right? And you see they all have these top 10 book lists, right? But they're all different lists. And I think there was like maybe a year's worth of programming from some gurus, maybe to sell a course. They were just like, don't do any content that's proven viral. And they basically just said, don't do platitudes. But you don't have to do platitudes in a way where there could be copy pasted by anyone. You should still be uncopy pastable. But if you put your own unique spins on things, you're allowed to follow viral frameworks. It's actually a cheat code to getting impressions and to growing your account and to doing all these things. So that's like, for me, that's my enemy, and my marketing is essentially unfucking those beliefs.
About the uncopy pastable thing, I changed my mind. I think it's okay to be copy pastable sometimes. I changed my mind as I often do.
This is the Nuance and Change Your Mind podcast.
Yeah, that's right. This is the we don't take accountability for our own beliefs podcast. This is but I don't know though. But honestly, man, I used to think that everything needed to be uncopy pastable. And often when I have the words always, never, all, none, it kind of hurts me because it understands that there's no nuance when everything really is nuanced. But I used to think it should be uncopy pastable, and if it should be in anybody else's feed, it can't be in yours. Yes, to a point. But if I have a thought that maybe...
Hell yeah.
I'll post it today. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, we're going...
Yes, welcome, brother.
Yeah, I'm back. I'm back, brother.
We're back.
Yeah.
JK's now going to start ghostwriting soon.
Oh, so, yeah, okay. That's a stretch. Okay, so I posted it today. You make more money when you're willing to say no. Or I posted another. What was it? We don't do maybes. It's a yes or a move on, right? You could copy and paste that, right? You could copy and paste that and you'll still be okay. But it is something I truly believe in. So I think that when I said everything should not should be about you, and you shouldn't be in a position where anybody can copy paste you, that was kind of exaggerated. I changed my mind on that. As long as you believe in it and it's true to you and you live through that code, which is something we can get into later, the importance of living your message more than telling what your message does. But yeah, I was wrong. So I admit it. Sorry, guys.
I just think it should be if we are remembered as anything on the podcast, I want it to be the podcast where we're not like hard stuck on these like constraints and beliefs. I think that we're both really good at this kind of like first principles thinking, where we're just like, we just kind of say why to everything. Like we never just get stuck in our own ways. And I think that's important because especially in content, we're both in the content game at the end of the day. It changes so fast. Like, well, what we were doing in 2021 is a lot different than what we're doing now. You know what I mean? Like, look at the threads that we were writing, even on my account, on 2021, 2022 versus now. It's like the content game changes so fast. So like, I feel like it's important as, you know, a partially content-driven podcast that we have that nuance. I think one of my gripes, one of the reasons I stopped listening to a lot of podcasts is because sometimes I feel like they're too much stuck in like, you need to do this. It's this way. It's this way. I know you've always said this too. And like it just gets in your head, right? So I think the nuance is important.
That's important. What you said there is important. It tells you that things are black and white, or like they start programming into like weird beliefs. Like I'll tell you one thing, like, you know, this whole status game versus what is it? Naval calls it zero-sum games and positive-sum games. So zero-sum games is which Marcus and I can't win at the same time. You're 1 and I'm 2. Positive-sum games is where we can both win. Entrepreneurship is a positive-sum game because, you know, everybody can win, right? But I was watching the Formula 1 Season 6 series on Netflix. And now that I kind of, you know, I've been like off that, now that I got back into that, I kind of see what they're doing. It doesn't pass for like 5 minutes before anyone's saying Formula 1 is brutal. Everybody's coming for your place. People are going to take your spot. If you don't perform, you're out. It is this constant reminder of zero-sum gaming. And when you listen to people who only talk in black and white, it starts tainting your view into only seeing black and white, which is like super bad. Like it feels off, right? So this is why I'm big on listening to nuance, but nuance is not sexy. Nuance doesn't sell, so it feels uncomfortable. People don't want to do it.
Yeah, it's funny. I've actually a practical example of this for me, and I always struggled with it because I kind of grew up playing video games a lot, and I always heard a lot of people saying, if you play video games, you know, you're not going to make money. You can't play video games. You can't do this. And then eventually, I got to a point where I was like, okay, but I'm starting to read these biographies, and I'm like, well, Elon Musk like stayed up all night and played fucking video games, and he's like a trillionaire. Like, what's going on here? Like, who's lying? And what I realized is it's not. Neither answer is correct. It's a gray area. And then I started applying that slowly to a lot of different things. And I actually had this talk with a team member of mine recently, and they basically were saying that when they write something, they have all these rules. I need to hit this line count and this many words here, and this needs to be structured this way. And I was like, dude, you need to apply first principles thinking to this. And it's like, I don't ask
dude,
myself.
You need to chill.
Yeah, no, literally. And I was like, I personally, like the way when I write, I don't say, I need to do this, this, and this. I don't have this structure and this framework. I literally just start writing. I'm like, this would bang. Like, this would do well. Like, what's going to do well here? Oh, this sounds good. Like, very basic, fundamental questions when I write. And that's how I try to apply things to everything in business. It's just like very basic.
That's interesting because I do the opposite. When I start writing, I think this is probably going to suck. Like that is, I'm not kidding you. That is actually the dialogue that I tell myself, because when I'm like, this will bang, I feel a lot of unnecessary pressure. When I'm like, this is going to absolutely bomb, it's nice because like I find that the faucet is on and I can keep writing.
And yeah, I think now that we're writing 1,000 posts a month for, almost 2 years now, it's just like so removed from the outcome. I'm like, I almost know exactly what the averages are going to come out to over a long time horizon. Like, you could have a viral thread today and then not go viral for 6 months and then a viral thread in August. But like at the end of the year, your growth is what it was going to be anyways. You know what I mean? Like for me, it's become a very steady thing and not so much kind of this like rocket fuel thing. So I've kind of removed myself. I guess that's a lot different than a lot of people, especially YouTube and some other platforms where they look at growth as like this like meteoric thing. I just look at it as like steady input output, very basic, like a system. You don't have to overthink it.
When you say output, what is it you're measuring? Are you measuring likes, cash, leads?
So we actually only measure specifically, so we measure followers. That's like our main content metric. We look at impressions, but we don't really record it or track it anywhere. We just kind of report on it. So the main thing is followers, and then we go over to sales, of course, cash collected, and if there's a booked call system, and for that client, it's booked calls. So those are really like the 3 core metrics we're looking at. So then we can do cost per follower, cost per call, and ROAS and all those things.
I think it's creative on this one. Let's talk about today how we write. So I'll start with how I write, and then you go over how you write. So I find that the way it works for a lot of people with writing is actually, you guessed it, the MBTI personality test. So if you haven't done that, it's very important on this podcast. So we did the MBTI personality test, and Marcus and I are both a P. So P at the end means prospecting. So prospecting people are basically people who like to fuck around and find out. J's are usually people who like, the whole Notion dashboards and the spreadsheets and Excel. We don't do that, right? So for me, writing is a lot about, I can be an awesome writer or I can be a horrible writer, but I vary between those 2 states. So I am the worst writer in the world for the 30 minutes that I try to force a piece of writing. But I am a really good writer for the 20 minutes that I'm on the treadmill and I have an idea and I type it on my phone. So what I like to do is I like to take advantage of emotional states. I will be doing things that are not related to writing because I have this inner belief that, like, all things equal, if you leave me alone, I will create. So that is like a belief I have. I am a creator. So when I take a break or I'm doing my own things, suddenly an idea will hit. And usually I will type better stuff on my phone that I type on my computer just because I have it there. So I'll start on the treadmill or I'm walking or I'm just chilling and be like, something hit. Now, when I start writing, I'll try to overshoot. So let's say before I would say I'm going to write 1 email. Now, when I'm in that flow, I tell myself I'm going to write 10 emails. Do I write 10 emails? No. But maybe I'll write 2, which is double what I first intended. So by shooting that high, I set up that metric. It allows me to like chill, know that this is probably going to suck. And I put a lot of content out because writing is much harder than editing. Being in that state is really hard to get into. So once you get there, take advantage of it, shoot high. Even if you don't get to 10 emails, maybe you'll write 2.5, probably. And then you edit the next day or you edit later. You just don't write and edit on the same session, So that's what I do. I'll do a lot of feel. I overshoot and then I will come back some other day and write it because everybody's a bad writer if you don't give them prep time. Everybody's a bad writer if you don't give them editing time. So it needs to sit. It needs to rest before it gets posted. That's how I write.
Like making a steak, you got to let it rest before you eat it.
Really?
Yeah, you're supposed to let it rest for like 5-10 minutes.
What happens if you don't?
You die.
I see.
Maybe this is a bad belief.
Like, I've never heard that. I didn't know
I'm surprised.
You to say.
Yeah, all the steak maximalists in the chat are gonna know. They're gonna be like, yeah. But what you said about kind of when you're getting all of your creativity when you're on runs and stuff like that, it reminds me, I don't know where I read it, maybe you'll know, but it was essentially you have to have kind of like multiple different modes, right? So the editing mode is obviously that final phase, but before you even write is kind of having some sort of diet where it's like an information kind of creativity diet. So for you, it's like walking on the treadmill, probably going on walks. I know that's what Napoleon does and stuff like that. But for me, it's like walks, but it's also consuming, it's driving. All of these things is where I always get my ideas. And it's such a blessing and a curse because like you sit down at your computer and you're like, okay, this is my time to write. And then you have no ideas. When you're walking on the treadmill and your hands are busy or like working out, then it's like, okay, I get all my ideas. But for me, I do the same thing. I made a tweet actually. I don't know where I have it, but it was like, go on walks, record voice memos when you're driving and stuff like that. Listen to podcasts. Like for me, I have an information diet that kind of gives me all of the ideas. And then, yes, I have a writing session and then I have an editing session as well. I think that's important just for like a practical writing tip for the audience. It's like you absolutely have to edit separately. I've never seen anyone edit and write in the same session and be able to catch everything. It's just not, I don't think it's possible.
No, I agree with you. I'll give you another practical tip. When you write, you're only allowed to think about people who have given you money. Some of the worst sales copy is when you think about people who have not given you money. The leads, the wishy-washy, the maybes, the no's, the tire kickers, because they make you needy or defensive or aggressive. And that's when you mess up the writing. Like writing copy for me is easy because I only think about people who have already given me money. I only think about clients. So when I write, it's like a conversation or I'm reliving a conversation that has already happened in the past. You can only think about people who have given you money when you start writing. Key.
Speaking of sales copy, I have a question for you. I think I've heard at least 2 or 3 people say they really like the likesayingcash.com landing page that says like super basic coaches and consultants only, join, I don't know, 20,000 readers, whatever. What is your thought process in terms of like simplifying things when you're writing sales copy or writing anything? Because I feel like you're really good at like dumbing things down to the most simplest form when you write. And that landing page, like I said, I think at least 2 or 3 people have said, I really like this landing page, likesayingcash.com.
I appreciate it. It's I try to make my offers very touchable. I like making things touchable, and what I mean by that is when you give people something touchable, it's easy to get them to point at it, which relieves their anxiety. And that is the feel-good feeling that people get. An example of this is I used to run an offer workshop. I said, okay. But then I changed it to the $2,000 offer template, and I made it really nice in Excel, so at the end you could leave with a template, something touchable. I also used to have it was a reduce your no-shows training, right? So reduce your no-shows training. Cool. But then I changed it to something touchable, which is the Calendly kit. This is a kit, you copy and paste it to your Calendly, and it reduces your no-shows. I used to have like content training, but then I said, at the end of this, you're going to have 3 weeks planned out in this nice content calendar with all the posts you need to make. So you can leave with something tangible, touchable that you can grasp. So every time I sit down to write, I think about what is something that I can give that is something people can point at. Because if they can point at, it relieves anxiety, which will make them like it more.
I have a hilarious example of this. And I feel like one thing that you're good at doing is kind of almost like naming things. It's almost like it's essentially branding. And this is it's funny because you're saying pointing, wrapping paper, etc. But it's branding. You're really good at branding. By the way, I like the logo. I know you didn't like the emoji. For context, for people listening, I told him he should go to the emojis. He didn't like it, but he figured out how to once again simplify it to its dumbest version. And what is it? It's like, I don't even know. It's just black.
Yeah, black and white. $sign doesn't equal heart.
Likes. That's the like right there. But essentially what you're good at is branding. One thing I did is I had 2 different auto DMs. So originally you might have seen this. I had I called it the ultimate Twitter swipe file. And it kept going, like it kept working over and over. I probably gained like 4,000 followers from it and like probably like 4 clients. Like it was crazy for me. And I recently did another one. I just called it like a viral swipe file. It's so bad. Because it didn't have the branding, it didn't have the wrapping paper. It was just a viral swipe file, and the other one was the ultimate Twitter swipe file, and that one probably had like 1,000x of performance. It's just insane. So I recently got kicked in the face with this. You need to put the wrapping paper and the branding on it if you want kind of like peak performance.
100%. Like today I was working with a guy on his offer. He has the sales dojo, right? So he said he will give you the samurai sales script or like samurai OS that has allowed him to close however many books. But he said, but I need people to find their own style. I can't just give them the sales template because if then people will copy it and it won't be effective. So I said, okay, check this out. Instead of calling it the samurai script, what we're going to do is we're going to give you the samurai script so that you can have your own Ronin script. You're going to go rogue with your own style. Dude, and I know it sounds silly, but it's awesome, man. It fitted so good. You want to brand your stuff even if it sounds silly. If you believe in it, it's not stupid.
Ooh, next podcast, we should have a segment on, have you seen this new show? I haven't watched it yet. This new show that just came out called Shogun.
No.
We're Gonna Die. So it's this new show called Shogun. It's out on Hulu. It just came out yesterday. It has like some of the best actors. It's like basically a Game of Thrones level samurai show. And it has 100% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Like a 100 rating. It's supposed to be that good. I think we'll both love it, especially as I know we're both big into that culture. So I think we're going to have a segment on the next podcast talking about it. And we'll see if it's overrated, underrated.
We still got to do the whole anime for 90 minutes podcast.
We're going to start a whole separate channel of just anime reactions.
Nah, bro, it's going to be the same channel.
Yeah, same channel.
Welcome to the Likes and Cash podcast. But today we're going to talk about neither likes nor cash.
This is one thing that it's funny because I do it for my clients, and I have this whole segment on this, but essentially it's like practicing what you preach. And it's very difficult as like an agency owner, especially with, a dozen plus clients, because I feel like I'm always focused on my client stuff and I'm like pushing these amazing strategies to them and I don't even do it myself. But one thing that I want to do more of in my personal brand is kind of using all of the different pillars of myself. And this is a core thing like they say about Joe Rogan, right? He talks about aliens and MMA and politics and free speech and all this stuff. It kind of makes him Joe Rogan, even though he has guests from all other industries. And that's kind of like us, right? Like we obviously have the Lexington Cash stuff, the agency, the consulting, all that. And then we also talk about anime and travel and like weird stuff. And that's kind of what makes us, right? But I need to do more of that in my content. And I think it's important. Like I think I used to do it a little more, but the more I get busy with the agency, it's an excuse. It's all cope.
Yeah.
I have to do it more in my stuff.
Let's zero in on what you said about it's important to live your own message. What did you say? Like,
practice what you preach.
Yeah, that. Practice what you preach. I think that being relatable doesn't sell as much as being the man. So if you try to be relatable, here are my flaws, here are my mistakes, it's okay, but nobody cares unless you are the man. And the best way to do this is to show, don't tell. What have your own unique methods done for your life? Are you traveling? Are you chilling? And you don't have to be an influencer guy to do this. Like, an example of this is, it could be the Andrew Tate, being in Dubai and doing all this stuff. It could also be the stay-at-home dad just posting that today he's just having a beer instead of going to work because his business is going well. It could be the stay-at-home mom that's just chilling and knitting because that's what she loves to do instead of having to go to work for someone. Or maybe she's with her husband or whatever. Like, being aspirational does not sell as much as being the man. And it can be as easy as taking a sheet of paper and writing, what methods do I use? And then, as we do with the Lexington Cash podcast, we caps lock it. So you name them. Marcos has the pesto pillars. I have the Lexington Cash funnel, the prospect inertia funnel. These things are made up. They do not exist, but we make them exist. And because we can show what they have done in your life, we give them life. And that's what drives really good marketing power. When you show, don't tell that you're the man.
Yeah, it's kind of like when people say, somebody's not truly dead until they stop getting talked about. Like you can kind of keep the memory alive of, a loved one if you just talk about the memory. It's the same thing. It's like nothing really exists until you actually start talking about it. And now I've made videos and podcasts and tweets and threads about the pesto pillars. It's essentially turned it into a real thing, but it doesn't exist in the real world. You know what I mean? I mean, it does. It's on my whiteboard. So I guess it does exist, but...
How's that going for you? I see you recording shorts now, and I see you on the whiteboard, your whiteboard grind.
The whiteboard thing is so much easier than it's definitely my style because I can just sit down 10 minutes unfiltered, one take, and just go and do it. Not one take, let's be honest. Sometimes 2 takes, but way better. I plan on doing it for a long time.
So what do you do for the audience? Like, what do you do
for the whiteboard videos?
The whiteboard, yeah.
So I really just it's super easy. If I'll be on a walk or a drive, I think of an idea, I put it in my notes app. And then on Thursdays, so Tuesdays is my writing and Thursdays is my recording. On Thursday, I'll just pull over this little chair. And I have all these markers and I'll just start talking about a topic. So I've done, should you choose LinkedIn or X for your personal brand? And I kind of break down the target markets of each. And then I have another one where it's like the pesto pillars. And my next one is going to be kind of breaking down the 100K a month X funnel or Twitter funnel. And I'm just basically just targeting my ideal client, but I'm just doing it on a whiteboard, uncut for 10 minutes a week.
So let's go deeper on it. I think that when you do those kind of stuff, it will work excellent if you give away insights, but it would bite you in the ass if you give away value. If you give away your exact DM scripts, like I did and I regret it,
right?
And if you gave away your own templates for a post, you would only attract other sellers. But if you gave insight on why LinkedIn matters, why the pesto pillars matter, that makes a lot more sense. So when you say do it for 10 minutes, what is it?
Yeah, so for example, and I wish I could bring the camera over, but like, for example, I have the 5 pesto pillars, and in the video, I don't just break down what the pillars are and what you should write. I break down what they actually do. What are the insights on what are they actually do? So for example, personal and expertise are typically going to grow your audience. Social proof is typically going to convert your audience to sales. The trending and opinions is typically going to get you more eyeballs and impressions. So personal expertise is going to convert followers or impressions. Trending and opinions is going to generate impressions. And social proof is going to convert those followers. So it's kind of like a 3-step process. And all 5 you have to incorporate, in my opinion, to do all three of those things. And that's how you kind of, there's a lot of people I feel like got stuck on just growth or just sales or just impressions. I'm like, you can't do one of the three if you want to make money. You have to do all three, in my opinion, to have a good, profitable personal brand. And it kind of goes back to like the showing weakness thing. I just thought about it. I'm like, I feel like if you're trying to monetize now, you shouldn't show current weakness. But I think you can show past weakness, like your story. Like for you, when you were a $200 virtual assistant, that was weakness, but you've already overcome it. So you're using it as the hero's journey. But if you're still at step one of your hero's journey and you want to be an authority now, you definitely cannot show weakness, because now people, they might follow your journey, but you're playing the long game, brother. Like you're talking about monetizing years down the line, because you still have to overcome that weakness and become an actual authority. So I think if you're going to go like the documenting my journey route, you can show weakness. But if you're trying to monetize today, you should show past weakness that you've already overcome, but don't show any current weakness in terms of maximizing sales. And that might be controversial, but
That was so fire. I loved every second of that rant. That was sick. People only care about the rags to riches story if you're in the richest part of the story, not in the rags part of the story.
yeah, they'll cheer you on, truly. Like if you're in the rags, they're going to cheer you on. They're going to follow you. I actually know someone who's doing it right now, like a rags to riches, kind of like a weight loss journey. And it's like, yeah, you're going to get a lot of followers, but you're not going to get a lot of buyers yet. You'll get buyers, but not yet. You have to actually hit the riches.
You said they are gonna cheer for you.
For now.
It's important who they are.
Yeah.
Who are they? I think they are other sellers.
Yeah.
Which is not the people you want. So, you know, the whole indie hacker, the whole building in public guys, you know who follows them? Other indie hackers.
They're indie
Other
hackers.
building public guys.
Let's struggle together.
Yeah. Let's all be broke together. Just like when one guy gets success, man, I'm not gonna get deep into that. But you know what I'm saying? Like you gotta achieve something. Like be the man. And people think it has to be like something like really remarkable. If you're at 5K a month, somebody at 1K a month, you're their hero. If you're at 10, somebody at 5, you're their hero. It's people try to be Dan Coe or Justin Welsh. It's like, let's take it by steps.
Yeah.
Like instead of thinking about how to become the guy, how can you become the guy for somebody behind you?
Yeah, like for example, if you do the whole documenting my journey indie hacker thing, and you start at 0, you build this big audience, 10K followers, and then you finally announce, I'm at 10K MRR. Everyone that's like, congrats, oh my God, they followed your journey. You have 10K followers who are just checking your journey out, but they're not your ideal prospect. You know what I mean? Your SaaS product probably isn't for other indie hackers, right? That's the nuance, right? Is your SaaS product for other indie hackers? Yes, no, maybe. If yes, then congrats, you're one of the few, but most likely not. So that's why if you're going to actually do it, you should build an audience of people that are going to use your software, or people are going to use your program, or et cetera. So for me, I'm always trying to build.
We talked about this last time.
Yeah, I'm trying to build an audience of like business owners, CEOs, et cetera, not agency owners, which is why I rarely talk about building an agency. You know what I mean? And that's important. I think it's nice to have those, like the my story stuff, but it's such a small subsegment of what I'm trying to do. And I know it's not going to convert any of the sales. What's converting the sales is, here's the case study of how I did this for a CEO. Here's the case study of how I did this for a business on X.
Yeah. Like we talked about this last time, the people who engage with your comment are not the people who buy your stuff. Real talk. People in your comments don't buy.
Yeah.
Like you saw this with your own community. They didn't join.
Yeah.
People who engage with you, they're like, for sure, JK, let's go. So much fun. They never buy. It's the hidden whales that I've never seen. Dude.
All the time, like, who the fuck is this guy? I'm like, I see someone buy, I'm like, who?
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know you, but I love you. So thank you for existing. Like,
yeah.
Dude, this happened twice in the past week. I onboarded clients that I blocked. They were blocked. And they're like, JK, by the way, like, can you unblock me? I'm like, fuck. Yeah, so I'll block you. Don't worry about it. Like, they keep watching this stuff. This is an example, man. People who engage are not the people who buy it. So this is why you shouldn't care about peers. Like, people in the creator economy, they care too much about peers, not enough about prospects. And that's what fucks them. Because the human mind is excellent at winning the games it plays. But if you play the be famous game, you're going to win that game. If you play the be rich game, which in my opinion is easier, you're going to win that game. And it starts about choosing the game.
Hell yeah.